Hey guys, Cower197 again. This time a review of the 144 scale high-grade 3 century Hy-Gogg from the Gundam 0080 OVA series. So for colors, we get a lot of blue all over the machine. A quite light blue, which looks very nice on an amphibious mobile suit. Then we have 2 shades of gray. We have a light gray for most of the joints, here there at the bottom of the feet. And then we have a much darker gray, almost black, for his claws and also for his missiles. Then we have orange for the backpack and also for those storage containers for the missiles. And last but definitely not least is that we get a clear mono eye. That's a bit of pink plastic in there with a black sticker on top of it. So it's not that easy to make out, which is probably why they stopped doing this, but it is a really cool touch. Especially if you want to put an LED in there, because, well, it does have a massive hollow body. Then, moving on to stickers, as I already said, a black one goes around the mono eye. Then we have the usual metallic red ones, which is something they really like to do at the time. Making stickers that should have been normal matte, shiny. So yeah, we have ones on top of the thrusters right there, one on the hand, and then also one right there on his crotch. But this time around, since they are only for the thrusters, they don't look that out of place. And we also get a Cyclops insignia. And then we get number 1, 2, and 3, which is supposed to go onto the missile container. So you can choose which number you want it to be. Also, 2 white ones wrap around for each of the containers. On to articulation. And as expected, the body itself is, of course, not going to do anything other than, well, rotate around at the waist all the way. The mono eye, despite being very nice and clear, doesn't do anything at all other than being cool. Then, arms rotate around all the way. We'll go up about that far. And the shoulder armor will also go down all the way, which is, of course, for his cruising mode. Then the arms itself, all of the segments are individually jointed. And they're on ball joints, so they do have a bit of movement, not too much, because, well, they are a bit hindered by their design, but it's still nice to get some really interesting snake-like movements out of those segments. They do tend to wear out pretty quickly and they're not really that strong to begin with, but we all know that can be fixed with a bit of super glue. And then we have a normal joint right down there. We'll rotate around here and we'll also rotate around at the top. So as you can see, you can pull off some pretty interesting poses with those arms. Some more cool articulation is in the fingers. They're all individually jointed and on ball joints. Just be sure that you don't pop the top of this thing off, because, well, it's very easy to remove this, but there is a very good reason for that. Then the legs have a pretty unique design, because actually they're on ball joints at the top, well, as pretty much usual, but we have yet another ball joint that's down there. This is also on a ball joint. And that's not something you see too often. Then the knees are double jointed, but that top joint really doesn't give you a whole lot. So most of the movement is going to come from that bottom ball joint. So legs will go all the way like that, and also forwards all the way like that on that one ball joint. And then at the knee bend, we get not even 90 degrees. And the feet, bit forwards, bit backwards, somewhat side to side, little bit of rotation, and then all of these foot flaps are on hinges, will go down all the way and will look really nice in that cruising mode he can do. So that's, for some reason, I really like the design of the feet. So overall, the articulation isn't super, but it's definitely adequate for what the Hy-Gogg is supposed to be. And they definitely did a really good job on those arms. Next up are the accessories, starting off with the missiles. They're simply on pegs, will pop into the hands rather easily, and there we go. So have fun discovering a bunch of things that you can also peg right into the hands. Then we get one of these boosters, very much like that of the Hy-Gogg E, and that comes with all their amphibious machines. Simply peg it on there, on it goes. And now, of course, for those missiles we've got, we need some protection to keep them safe from the water. And for that, we of course get these storage containers. And this is also why this is very easily removable, because you gotta take that off, gotta remove this as well, and then you put on these storage containers. There we go. And the one thing I was surprised about the most was, despite not pegging into anything onto the actual arm, it's actually on there fairly securely. I mean, it's got a bit of give, but other than that, it's not really wiggling around too much, or it isn't going anywhere. So that is really nice. And then finally, the transformation to its cruising mode. Simply rip off the arm, rip off the piece there, and this will go in there. Kind of simulating all of these segments coming together, joining there, shortening the arm significantly, and simply do it again here. And then once that is done, it's just all the stuff I've already shown. The shoulders, well, the shoulder armor comes down, covers the missiles, the feet flaps go in, and now this thing is ready to sail across the 7 seas in its cruising mode, and possibly take out a few gems along the way. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this after the debacle that was the Hy-Gogg E. And well, rest assured, it's definitely a lot better than the Hy-Gogg E. For starters, this one actually feels like it had love put into it. They actually thought about how to make this thing, and they made something that's pretty nice. Like I said in the articulation section, it does everything the Hy-Gogg should do, and it pulls it off pretty damn well. So in that aspect, it's a hell of a lot better than the Hy-Gogg E. So for that reason, for 1,200 yen, you can't really go too wrong with this if you like the Hy-Gogg. Are there better model kits for 1,200 yen? Yeah, but this one isn't too bad. The one thing I will say, and it's kind of a similar point as with the Hy-Gogg E, is that still the proportions, especially of the main body, feel slightly off. It feels a bit too chubby and not really as menacing as it should be, which is exactly the same complaint I had with the Hy-Gogg E. Somehow with the 0080 models, they just somewhere dropped the ball on the whole menacing look these things should have. Like menacing sea serpents rising from the sea, destroying all the gyms. And this one doesn't completely give off that vibe. It's definitely still good looking if you get it in the correct positions, but overall they could have done a better job at it. But if you like the look of this thing right now, for 1,200 yen, like I said, you really can't go too wrong with this machine. And of course, with the exchangeable parts, with the cruising mode, the missile container, it does have a little bit of play value too. And you know, you can always find new things to put in his hands. On to size comparisons, and first of all, let's put him next to the machine he was developed from, the original Gogg. And let's once again bring in the Hy-Gogg E. And man, looking at the Gogg, the Hy-Gogg is definitely very different. You can kind of see where it came from, but it's absolutely its own machine. Now you know, well, the Hy-Gogg E, let's quickly try to forget about that thing. Much better already, the original Hy-Gogg. And then finally, here he is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. Oh, and it's probably also worth mentioning that with those pretty big shoulders, he's got a lot of shelf presence. Unless of course you put him in the more compact cruising mode. And well, that's all for this review, and see you guys next time.